I'm the CEO of this company, Cloudbase Solutions. We are one of the members of the CNCF, right? So all about cloud native. And brief history about the CNCF, founded in 2015, part of the Linux Foundation, right? So it's one of those big organizations that helps keeping open source free and available to everyone. The big, of course, project in the CNCF is of course Kubernetes. So Kubernetes, I think, what all of us here do more or less. Who's doing the Kubernetes? Who is not doing Kubernetes? Oh, good. You're a liar. Okay, it's the Helm, many more. Okay, so that's actually where the places where if you have a project that you think the community at large should use, that's very true. Also, you have a governance which is independent from individual, corporations and companies, and it's probably a very good place for projects to be. There's also visibility. Okay, well, the problem with that is that there are gazillions of projects. So I'm not even going to start. Those tiny little blocks, groups of pixels you see there are individual projects. So I'm not even starting to go through all of them. 248, at least at the moment of the writing of the slide, mainly keep on graduating all the time. A bunch of them are incubating. There are quite a few of them that we are contributing to as a company in Cloudbase, including the one and only Linux that's actually becoming part of the Linux Foundation itself, which is Flatcar, for which our colleague Adi here and another colleague Gabi are maintainers, and many more. Okay, the CNCF works, of course, like being a community organization. It's working on the basis of volunteers, which are helping in organizing events like this one. Here you see the local chapter with a bunch of my colleagues. You see some of them are here as well. And well, we do at least 4 main editions per year: spring, summer, fall, winter. So one per season. Please reach out if you want to host an event, if you want to help out, if you have any feedback, except about the projector, and whatever else comes to mind, right? Very important, we have this year, still as part of the CNCF at large, the Cloud Native Days in Romania, which are hosted in Bucharest, 18-19th May. Yours truly is also going to be a speaker there. We are going to have, okay, you can have discounted ticket, and we are also going to have, drum rolling, a raffle. My colleague Andrea, hello, hi guys. We waited for you, but you were late.
As is tradition, sorry, Alessandro.
And my colleague Andrea will actually explain about the raffle.
Okay, we will have a slide later on the presentation. At the end of this beautiful presentation by our colleagues today, we will extract 5 winners for the Cloud Native Days and 5 winners for the AWS Community Day. We are offering in total 10 tickets. How it will work, we have a list with everybody, we check if you are here, and then we do a random board extraction, okay? But you will have to stay till the end, till the pizza ends.
You will be forced to eat pizza.
Exactly.
Okay. Back here, a big thank you to today's partners, Cloudbase to them, and well, Cloud Native Days and the AWS Community Days, as already mentioned. A bigger thank you to the day's speakers, right? We're going to have Vadim and Andrei that will have their 2 sessions that I will introduce very soon. Giveaway, we already talked about it. And follow us to stay updated on future events. Okay. That's about it, right?
Yes. You can follow us everywhere. If it's LinkedIn, it's our website, or even Instagram, if you want anything like that, like more. I will just go and bring some water for you because we forgot to bring the water machine here.
Okay. My friend Marius told me a lot about what Vadim is doing with agentic AI and his work on that. So I'm actually extremely curious about this session. So with this, I will leave the stage to.
Thank you very much. Like Andrea said, it's going to be a beautiful presentation. Everything is beautiful, like our colleague Trav.
Beautiful and agentic.
Well, yeah. So first of all, the presentation is extremely opinionated. These are my thoughts, my experience. You can share it, you cannot share it. It depends. I'm not going to try to change anybody's mind. This is my personal take. I've been experimenting with AI. I've been doing IT and software for like the last 20 years. I built a company from 0 to 80 people. Then last year I decided to take a break, to travel the world and to get into this kind of stuff. So that's pretty much what I've done. So this is my opinionated view of what I think, what's happening in my experiment. So I really kind of like this picture of Elon Musk that it's keep posting this lately. So this is a room full of computers in the 1960s. Okay, so just like to understand that this was the job which was defined as a human individual, which was a computer. It was a human job, right? Like that was something to think about, right? Today, nobody even thinks about like a computer being a job, right? And this is a picture with my daughter and her friend, which I think in 10 years are going to be like drinking something and they're going to be like, think at the fact in the past people wrote code in computers. Like I am thinking when I'm looking at my phone, I'm thinking, think that in the past there were like this room full of ladies that were connecting the cables, like to have a phone call. Yeah, we're kind of bad as human individuals to think about history and to think about how stuff changed over time, how jobs changed, and how technology disruption affected basically a lot of our environment. But I think there is, a lot to think about. I think, I think we resist change because pretty much what I believe, I think we confuse the current interface, like you are programmers, you know what an interface is, with the permanent profession. And I think that any of us should actually ask themselves literally, what is your profession? Are you just like somebody who knows how to manage an interface? Because the interface literally changes over time. And we have kept changing interfaces and interfaces and interfaces. The story of programming and the story of technology is just another abstraction layer on top of another one. And this is something we, as engineers, we should literally remember and understand best than anybody else. And I think that, you have a story which goes from human computers to programmers to agent operators. And in the end, I think you're going to be just like some factory designers of like managing agents. And I do believe that's, for me, I was always against the comfort zone. And I think it's a very terrible systems model to live by, the comfort zone. So that's pretty much a small introduction. I think that today there are like 8 levels of AI adoption for a programmer. And level 1 is no AI. I don't give a shit. And I am like the 10x programmer that in 2 years, when there's going to be Opus 9.7, they're going to call me to fix the AI slop. Whatever. I think there's level 2. You stay in your IDE. You have some agents, but you're afraid and like you leave permissions on because you want to be in control. Then there's like level 3, you go on YOLO mode and you say, there we go. I'm gonna go on YOLO mode. Then you have to go to level 4, like where you guide the agent and you stop reviewing every single div. Then you go to level 5 and I'm gonna be agent first. I'm gonna like really go agent first. Then you go to level 6 when it's starting getting really heavy, like you're multiplexing between streams and you're looking at like multiple agents doing job. You're gonna go to level 7 when you have like 10 plus agents managed by hand, looking at 7 Tmaxes and like understanding what's going on. And then you have level 8 where like you fight the last boss, level 99, where you say, fuck it, I'm gonna build my own factory. So we're gonna talk about level 8. Just as simple as that. I think that to build your own factory, it requires to think from first principles and abandon some old flows. In December last year, I think everybody knows that the entire world talks about there was a big change and AI had become like super really good. When I saw that, I decided that code is just going to be an output for me. I was very opinionated. I love technology. I wrote software every single day of my life. I had opinions on every single programming language, architecture, framework, everything that I wanted. And at the end of December, I uninstalled all my IDEs. I switched to Linux, only clean, and I decided not to look at a single line of code anymore, not to do a PR, not to do a diff, and not to open an IDE anymore. Like just completely, literally obliterate everything I knew. Because I think that if you want to go and try and experiment this stuff, you have to think from first principle and like see how it is on the other side. So that's what I did, and it's kind of fun. What is a dark factory? Dark factory is kind of simple. Factories are producing some kind of output. In manufacturing, you have factories that produce cars. I don't know if you saw, like a few weeks ago, Xiaomi launched the dark factory to produce a single phone every 30 seconds or every second or whatever. I don't remember. Lights out, everything, and no human. So pretty much the same stuff in software engineering. Like we are building products, we are building software. So why not try the same thing that they have done in manufacturing? One of the first things that you have to think about if you're a good engineer, and I think from my perspective, the good programmers and the good engineers were the engineers that studied in school operating systems and computer architecture, and they understood the goddamn system that they manage. And over time, I think in the last 10 years that was lost, and it's bad. And I think that one needs to understand that we have a new operating system that we need to manage. Exactly like you went in C and you have allocated heap and memory and whatever. Exactly like you thought about scheduling and concurrency. Exactly like you thought about isolation and permissions, you have a new operating system to manage, which I think is super fundamental that you understand how it works. That's my perspective. When we talk about memory management, you manage large language models, like what stays in the context, what gets summarized, what gets evicted. How do I do memory management? How do I manage the context? And no, 1 million context is not enough, trust me. Like, yeah. I know that in some cases size does matter, but in this case, yes and no. Scheduling and concurrency, like which stages do I run in parallel? How many agents? How do I manage concurrency between agents? Because I want to do everything in parallel. Who waits for whom? How do we stop token deadlocks? And how do we create isolated environments where they can run freely? I think that today the gap is not model IQ anymore. Everybody's like, okay, the next model, whatever. If you guys looked at the Cloud code, which was leaked like 2 days ago, it was just a simple, like I got the 3-hour period between the like unthrottling. It's all about the harness, man. It's all about how you build the orchestration. And it's, no reason to wait for the next model IQ. It's about how you put your intelligence into building your own harness. Yeah, so there are like 5 things that I do believe that you need to think about: the context, the agent control, the verification, honesty. They, and I call them they, lie every single time. So you have to understand that they are probabilistic machines, that they want to reach a result, and they will do whatever they can to reach that goddamn result. They will override tests, they will answer whatever, but you have to understand that that is the case. And how do you verify honesty? It's one of the most important things that you have to think about, and it can be done in a different way. Anyway, failure routing, traceability, just basic stuff. So what I did, it's pretty much the same old story, guys. Before reinventing the wheel, one has to take a look at like what technologies have been, and what as humanity we kind of solved a lot of problems, but because we try to keep reinventing the wheels, we have this problem of not looking in the past how we solve problems. And the problem here was, how do you build a factory like this where you combine non-deterministic LLMs with determinism, because you want to control the stuff and you want to make sure that you combine the two worlds. Well, to build it, you need to think about 3 macro areas. The first one is the execution engine. Like, the execution engine owns your topology, your traversal, your retries, your checkpoints, your routing. Like, how does your algorithm to implement it from a spec to an end product looks like? And this is like the execution engine. The second is the coding loop, the agent, like who does coding, Cloud Code, Codex, Open Code, Immigri, like I can keep going for like 3 hours to tell the names. One of the most important things that you have to think about in the coding loop, you need to control it. It cannot be a black box. When you go into a manufacturing or into a factory, there are budgets, money, constraint. Budgets are tokens today, like we live in a token economy. So you want to control the agent. You want to be able to say your LLM turn budget has done. You have to do this in 50 turns. I'm not sure if you're familiar with like turns and like, a turn is just a message that you send to the LLM, like in a stream of conversation. So you need to manage budgets. In Cloud Code, using Cloud Code in headless mode, you cannot manage budgets. So you need to control your coding agent. And the third one, you need a unified model layer. No, Cloud Code, I'm going to just use Anthropic. I'm just going to use OpenAI. No, those times, it's like 2024, done. They took, from my perspective, so different routes that, and they have to, because they have to compete one against another. Well, at the end of the day, you need to think about how to use them all. There is no way around it. I do not actually remember how many 200 euros subscriptions I have. I literally don't know. I don't remember. So what I did is very simple for the guys who like did cloud computing, Terraform, and like everything. How do you build a good engine? Well, how do you combine the two stuff? You do a DAG. Okay, so you take the concept of a DAG, which is a very good solution, and you design it. So what we did here is we built different shapes, different, yeah.
Okay, get it, guys.
Yeah. So basically what you want to do is like to build a DAG, like a workflow. How does the workflow looks like? Okay. So I have like 8, 7, whatever type of nodes in a DAG, which you design as a pipeline. You have an LLM box node, which is basically an agent invocation, like you call an agent. You have a parallelogram tool node because I do not trust them that they will run the tests. I will run the best script myself, and I will send back the result of the best script to the coding group, because sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Then, based on certain scenarios, you want to route. You want to say, I want to do this. If this happens, I want to route here. So it's just like building blocks to design your workflow. It's a DAG, okay? And what you can do with this, it's just very simple. You take all those kind of DAG concepts and you go write your workflows, basically. What's nice is that you can build new workflows and you can redesign the workflows without touching the engine. That's what everybody wants. That's why you have Kubernetes. That's why we have the cloud technologies, because we said we're not going to go touch the engine every single time we want to do something different, right? So I did this pretty much the same. And it's just a combination of nodes that the engine runs in a certain sequence. Obviously, kind of the important stuff is the sequence and the prompts and the tools that are being used in the graph. So a factory is not one long prompt. It's a direct graph of stages, conditions, retries, and proofs. This is what it is, basically. And you start from a goal. You build some specs. I think you have like literally heard about spec, kit, and like all the tools that are out there today to do spec-driven development. There are many. I think here, what's very nice, you can combine like 4 or 5 libraries that are out there and think about specification in a very smart way. You have to think very well about the definition of done, how tests should look like to be verifiable. There is an entire like concept on how to write the specs. Then you plan. What is super important is planning. And planning, it's like going up the hill. You have to repeat the planning phase, at least from my perspective, 8 times. And the planning phase goes between multi-LLM diversity, where Gemini and others bring different perspectives, and in a sequential way where the plan is ready, you have a reviewer that keeps going on the plan, keeps going on the plan. And when you plan, I don't know if you guys saw when you told Cloud Code, can you change this line in this file? And then while I was there, I changed, and then you have a diff with 100 files. The plan contains super granular tasks with the exact files he is allowed to touch. And it's planned from the beginning. And then in the verification phase here on verify, if he touched more files than that, he needs to go back and like undo the shit that he has done automatically. Because what happens, the verify goes and checks against the acceptance criteria and the files we have agreed together that you're going to change in this iteration. So it's a steering process, like kind of you beat the shit out of him every single time, like wrong. This is as efficient as how much money you have to spend on tokens. It's as simple as that. But the faces here are very strict. These are all prompts, of course, because they go to the coding agent, but they can be extremely intelligent prompts. What I've seen is that, first of all, they are absolutely amazing in following red-green programming. So if you implement for a single task, you want to go and just tell him, implement me this task in red-green. That's it. You don't have to say anything. The fact that they're going to write the test first, it's going to constrain the LLM in most of the cases to not over-engineer the task, because he will usually write the minimum requirement to make that test pass. And it's a much stronger. Not to mention that the reviewers here, Obviously, you have to use reviewers that have not seen the code and have not seen the implementation to be completely like black box reviewers. The reviewers, you would always want them to review the code from different perspectives. So you're going to have like the security reviewer, you're going to have the architect, because attention is all you need. So if you understand that, yeah. So that's very, very, very important. And then you have like this amazing post-mortem, which is I have died, I have not been able to do what you have asked for me. And then you go into understanding and debugging and feeding back everything that happened in the loop. It's very simple. It's a combination, the DAG, it's a combination where LLMs do the work, tools, scripts prove the work. So it's pretty much like this. The tools that are used in the factory is format, lint, build, text, and artifacts fidelity. So that's pretty much it. How do you set up the factory? If you guys looked at, have read, and I highly suggest that you read and you follow the Anthropic and OpenAI engineering blogs. I mean, the guys, they know what they're doing. And like right now, one of the hottest engineering kind of jobs is harness engineering, where you set up the repositories and the code so it can be developed by the agents. What does that mean? It means that you need to kind of have a public contract. Agents cannot go wild into a repo without having the rules and without knowing what are the tools they can use and how they can use them. So what I did in the factory, I told Claude to read the OpenAI engineering post, to read Claude, the Anthropic engineering post, to scan about 80 or 90 repositories that I have. And then I told him to take the auto research loop of Carpati, the one that was adjusted for normal repositories by Toby Luke, the guy at Spotify, and he uses auto research B. And I said, you have to run for 3 days to build me incrementally to learn the best harness that you can to set up whatever repository you see, so it is ready for agents to come in. That's pretty much what I did there. And this sets up the repository so agents know how to link, how to format. All the tools are available and the testing framework is available. Then the coding agent. This is like the engine. This is how like the engine works. If you do not know what P is, and if you use OpenClaw, P is the coding agent inside OpenClaw. It's one of the most beautiful engineering pieces that I have personally seen. I highly say you should take a look at the code. It's 40 years of unique simplicity distilled in a coding agent. It doesn't have anything. You have to write it yourself. All the extensions and everything, it's yours. You own it. Like it's just the bare metal. It's like bare metal Kubernetes, but it's goddamn amazing because you can make it yours as an agent. And it's very simple. The engine talks to the P, the coding agent, over RPC as a process. What's really nice is that talking with RPC, I can control the agent. I can steer it. Like I'm looking at the streamings, like what's happening in the factory. And I can steer the agent and say, you're doing it wrong while it happens. So steering, again, it's like super, super important. You can abort, you can inspect. So you wanna control your agent. One of the beautiful things that what I said, you can make it your own and you can literally put it as you want, is that P is one of the very few coding agents that supports overriding or appending to the system prompt. The system prompt is what really matters in many cases, like it gets higher priority compared to the user prompt. Cloud Code Codex will never like allow you to override the system. Unless, yeah. So what I said is I have the opportunity to express myself, Vadim, as a programmer, and what I believe are the good engineering practices. You might like them, you might not like them, you might say, this is shit, I think you're doing it wrong. It doesn't fucking matter. What matters is that you can do it. So you can write your own SOL MD for the coding agent. For example, no stubs, placeholders, or to-dos. Every function might contain real working logic. No speculative abstract. All the shit that like I really care about. Report outcomes faithfully, cascading, for example. And then I have like a super long series of security. All SQL via parameterized placeholders. Never string interpolation, for fuck's sake. No eval, exec, new function on untrusted. Like, and this is gonna be binded in the system prompt. And it's gonna behave better. It's gonna be a better programmer. I mean, obviously Claude Code is a good programmer. Like Codes is a good programmer, but this is my programmer. Like, it's different, and I think it's nice. For example, I prefer BDD style texting. Like I wanna, when I see tests that test the method in itself and doesn't say what the heck is doing, I hate it. So, for example, what I really like, I engraved in its Sol MD. Okay, so whoever guy is using OpenClaw, you know what the Sol MD is. Like, come on. So you can put it in your agent. Okay. Yeah. So one of the biggest problems in like by far is managing the context. So every single task needs to go into fresh context, and do not believe the 1 million context window, because there is a big problem in the 1 million context window, the attention. So the context, true, is big, but after, like, it's even proved that after like 220K tokens, they lose attention in a terrible way. So do not trust the 1 million context window. Try to do your stuff in super small tasks and manage the context. What I do is obviously the engine leaves traces of what happened from the previous stages as files on disks. So the next stage reads a window that I decide that it's important for you to see, so your context doesn't get bloated. So it's all about memory management. Like I said, it's about operating system, it's about memory management. And they have different ways to compact, like what's happening. Like truncate, summary, compact, full. And sometimes I let P to use its own compacting mechanism. But you need to understand how compacting works. And based on each phase, you need to understand how much you're going to put in the next context window. It's a different kind of programming, to be honest, but it's kind of nice. This is, I don't know if you guys like literally know Ralph. It's like the famous loop that like the auto programmer, the Simpsons Ralph. I don't know if you know him. I've been using obviously before that, like the Ralph loops, and it's kind of awesome. Like the guy who did Ralph said, you have to think about context as like just pointer to pointer heaps. Like, I mean, you guys are programmers, okay? So it's just disposable shit, man. You do your small stuff and you dispose it. It's literally programming towards another operating system. I swear to God, this is not something else. So this is it. Like, I mean, yeah, just keep doing, you know, more and more. Why multiple models and why I went to P? Because it's the only one that supports multiple models. And I think these are the best models right now. So this is my two take. I know a lot of people put the model on premise and so on. I do not trust that shit. They are too slow and they are too far behind. So I use Minimax, 2.1, Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, and Kimi. That's pretty much. And how do I use them? This is the model use case matrix. You can route tasks based on the model capabilities, and you want to do that because it's nice. And the model capabilities is like, this is what I've been looking at, like some Oxford guys and like a lot of people that they talk about that they are building their dark factories, and this is pretty much the metrics that they like kind of agreed on how to route based on the task typology. Okay, so this is built in like in the dark factory, so he like kind of chooses the right model. Every single stage leaves traces on disk. So every single stuff, it's empty files on the disk. Every single run of the engine goes into a separate work tree. So everything is like in Git work trees. And as Marius was saying, obviously the next feature, you can actually run this in Daytona and in like Sprite and in whatever, like in containers, like in cloud containers, your runs. So you can have like a parallel fan out like crazy to implement hundreds of stuff. Git is history. Every single node that happens in a work tree, it's a Git commit. So like the engine goes, like it reaches a node, it finishes the node, Git commit, Git commit. So Git is your code history. And then what I did, yeah, of course, nice. But to be able to improve my prompts and all that shit, you need the AI context store. You saw the guys who built GitHub. They are building a new company which is called Entire, and they are building AI context store. So agents are literally the new type of Git. So, but for agents. Agents love file systems, guys. Like fuck MCP and all that shit. Just give them clean file systems. And TigerFS, which is absolutely amazing, which is a PostgreSQL which exposes views where you have read, cut, grep on top of Postgre, and it's amazing, literally. What happens is all the conversations, they go in the AI context store, and you can look at them. It's a DAG context store, and you can branch out a conversation and replay it and say, why don't you run me from here to there, like replay the run. And it's kind of awesome, and it's good. Obviously, you have the feedback loop, like every single run, you have all the conversation in the AI context store. The AI context store, it's a DB that the guys from StrongDM did. It's called GXDB, and it's super awesome. It has dedupe ZSSD as like compression. It's really nice. And you can run traces, diagnosis, and obviously all of this goes back into the engine and yeah. What's really interesting is when the app is ready, it just like gets auto-deployed to Vercel. I use Vercel heavily because I'm choosing technologies right now based on how those guys who build the technologies are building for agents. And Vercel, Supabase, and a few of others, they are building for agents. And the tools that they bring to the game just, you know, too good. So I don't care. And basically, obviously, all the integration with linear, GitHub issues, and like when the agents finish, they update and they send Slack messages and like Devin or like OpenHand and all that shit. Some tricks, probably most of the important, and like I'm quite finished. I do not start the factory on empty Git repos. I think that's stupid. You cannot do that. It doesn't work. So what I did, I built it, scaffolded apps, harnessed with hundreds of test informants and hard design rules to follow. Basically, I like DDD as like programming. Like I like domain-driven design. Every single rule of domain-driven design, literally, it's a lint and the script that fails the build if the agent architected the code cross boundaries. It's as simple as that. Your job is to write the goddamn rules, man. This is what people don't understand. They play with, look at him, he's stupid, he doesn't do that. Because you did not give him the rules and the ground rules, and you expect magic. Well, let me tell you what the magic is the problem. Like Dijkstra said in the 70s. It is the first time in history where machines understand natural language. Because till now, we understood their language. But natural language has one of the biggest problems why you fight with your wife. It's ambiguity. And ambiguity. I thought that you meant this. It's the same, literally the same. It's no goddamn difference, man. It's the same. Most of the tech choices I made are pre-made. Like, yeah, I choose Next.js, Supabase, Postgre, like, I choose my technologies. When I have to do some backend stuff, it's Fast API with Python, but very little lately, to be honest. Much more edge functions and all of that to like, yeah, and so on. Agents suck at writing front ends. They suck so bad. It's one of the problems that was not resolved. Well, kinda. What I did is very simple. I took the entire React Next.js skills for agents available from Vercel and transformed them all in ESLint rules that fail. It's not a skill that I'm telling you, please take like this direction. No, they are ESLint rules that fail. As simple as that. And I switched the front-end rendering engine. The agents are not allowed to write TypeScript and React. Literally. They need to communicate with the rendering engine, which is open source. Like you can guys also find it in Vercel. It's called JSON renderer. And they need to write specs in JSON about how they want the interface to look like, and the renderer will give them the components. Because if not, I mean, I have my screenshots with, like, I told Claude, why did you do it like this? And just like the arrows, I invented this, I invented this, I invented this. Because, you know, they are machines. They need to write code. They want to write code. And I don't want that. So I gave them the JSON renderer. There is this like 150 components catalog of what I did as my design system. You choose from here. You do not write shit. So yeah. Switch to agent browser. You need to give agents a way to check themselves every single time. Every single time. I mean, I guess you were using Playwright browser or Chrome DevTools. Chrome DevTools is super good to tell them to performance profile any single application. If you want to give them the power of AI, I would suggest Agent Browser. It's a new browser written by the guys in Vercel. It's in Rust. It's 10x faster and consumes 10x less memory. So they just do a really, really good job. Choose agent first technologies, like I said, and prefer CLI over MCP always. And love the file system, really great. And I will leave you with the last stuff, which I think it's interesting. This is like food for thought, philosophical, and that's pretty much it. So this is like, you did math in school, like, yeah, Laplace. This is the Laplace demon. The Laplace demon, it's just fun to think about. It's about the context. So we may regard the present state of the universe as the effect of its past and the cause of its future. An intellect which at a certain moment would know all forces that set nature in motion and all positions of all items of which nature is composed. If this intellect were also vast enough to submit this data to analysis, it would embrace in a single formula the movements of the greatest bodies of the universe and those of the tiniest atom. For such an intellect, nothing would be uncertain. And the future, just like the past, could be present before its eyes. I thought it's like super philosophical and super interesting and super fun, thinking about the context and like where AI can be heading. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think it's one of the best times ever to be in programming. It's
To not be programming.
oh no, I think to be and to like think on how you can build anything. And I would just suggest be a builder and think how all of this can literally change the way you think about the world. That's it. That's just my perspective. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Vadim. This was super interesting. Any questions?
Okay. I forgot about the question.
Don't be shy.
What question?
Anybody?
No.
Yeah, I'll go. How do you evaluate the performance of your pipelines?
Well, obviously, first and foremost, at the beginning, you look at the results, at like the MP files and like the specs that they produce with your eyes. And then I think that one of the most important verifications, the performance. I think the performance can be defined in multiple ways. If you mean about the correctness of what they did, one of the things that I love to do lately, and it helps a lot, the last step in the pipeline is they have to put down a movie end to end, like film, literally, of how, from a user perspective, the feature works. And they do it. And what's really amazing is like you can find your MP4 video of the feature done, literally, and they do it amazing. And in the process of doing that, they actually catch what they missed. So this kind of a verification over verification. I highly looked at the end result, man, because what matters is from a user perspective, is the feature usable or not? And then, yeah. And then I look at the tokens they consume, try to understand how can I optimize that, because they like you can see the tokens, but and then there's the auto loop that I don't know what it does, to be honest, too much, because it's an auto research loop, and I saw a lot of stuff that he fixed by himself. To be honest, I do not look at everything. So, yeah.
Cool. Any great work, right? Super interesting stuff. Okay, thank you again. Are we having a quick break? Or?
Yeah, I think we should have a quick.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good.
Small break.
Small break.
Small 5 minutes
Then we
break.
have Andrei presenting the next talk.
Yes. We promised not to burn down the building.
Yes. something completely different. How many of you guys are developers?
Let's see.
How many of you guys are managers? What are the rest of you guys doing? DevOps. Sorry about that. How many of you guys are DevOps? Okay. Still, there are a bunch of people I don't understand. Okay, you guys are here for the pizza. Okay, so management, I'm a coder, sorry, DevOps. I had to learn to do management because it was a necessary evil, since I'm running a company. But it was always like, And so we were talking about this talk, and one of my friends, which will remain unnamed, was like, okay, what's the topic about? Oh, management bambo jumbo, and then I read the topic and I was, this is actually interesting, Let's see. So there is actually science and interesting stuff about management, right? So
No pressure.
all right. So Andrei is going to show us how to make management sexy.
Thank you, Alessandro. Coming from Italian, it's very hard to compete. Okay, so I'm Andrei. I'm the guy who would bug you every now and then to basically do your job and be on time on meetings. But more than that, I'll just transition to me a bit. My gaming ID is Maverick Danger 1. I was never the one who followed the rules. This is actually my idea. I have friends who can prove that here. So, and I'm a huge Tom Cruise fan. I actually challenge you guys if anyone knows any bad Tom Cruise movies. No. Okay. And I think of myself as I can bring Tom in any corporate presentation. It's awesome. 15 years in the domain, I've had several hats. I was not born a manager, so I started as a QA, a PA, some UX, and now I'm basically managing different teams at NES. I was never a purist. I had, quadruple certified in Agile, Safe. I won't dive into that, but I think that in any Agile environment, there will always be a manager or a stakeholder who will want something at a certain time. So you can't be that romantic about delivery. I actually love grass. I have the best lawn on my street. I have pictures also for that. I'll start with a rhetorical question. I'm going to ask you guys to raise your hands, and I promise this is not some sort of persuasion tactic to sell you a course at the end. So, who here works in Agile environment or Scrum? Mostly everyone? Okay.
That's what the other guys were doing.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm actually curious also. So, I think Scrum is quite old now. I think a Romanian implemented Scrum at Microsoft in the 2000s. It's quite popular. It's people can be, very religious about Agile and Scrum. But is it really like that, right? Because what's Scrum? I'll talk about Scrum a bit in a nutshell. Right, you have most probably some sort of stakeholder layer, and then you have a Scrum Master, which puts you to have these refinement sessions and planning sessions, and you have your daily sessions, and then at some point you have this sprint review or a demo, and then you go into a front end of stakeholders and you tell them you did something, but actually you may or may have not spilled over half of your items into a sprint, right? So this is basically the classic Scrum. Reality is not always that as in the books, right? So that was always my feud against always looking at stuff how they were actually written, because again, you're there in the field and you always ask yourself, okay, does it really matter that I finished this specific task if I haven't finished the full feature which would make my stakeholder happy? I know there are lots of DevOps guys here. I promise you this will be interesting also for you soon. So this is basically where we are now with sprints, right? Why would you even care? Why would you even try to stop 2 weeks into your work and to do a demo for what, right? And then let's take you guys, right? So you are a DevOps, most probably you have tasks, I would argue, right? If not, at the end of this this speech, I mean, don't take out your I don't know, your forks and start a war with your managers, but ideally there are different ways of working as a DevOps better than Scrum, if you ask me. So this is kind of the promise and where we are now. What Scrum basically ended up. This is actually turned by Christian Vervis. That's the guy's name. So we are somewhere in the zombie Scrum territory. Unfortunately, not most of the teams I worked with, but let's say more than half, they thought they were doing Scrum, but in reality, they were basically just splitting waterfall into sprints and calling them Scrum, right? But for what? No one knows. For what reason? You always need to ask yourself, okay, why the hell am I even trying to have these sprints? Right, and then what happens? You have your refinements sessions because you follow Scrum, and then no one really cares. Everyone just puts a sticker there that something was not okay, and then everyone just forgets about that. Not cool. The urgency part. I talked a bit earlier about the spillover. Most probably, I would argue, if something is not done, again, by the book, it's fine, it's romantic, no one cares, and then you just move the task to the next sprint. Again, what's the real value there, right? And you guys, if you have a task, right, it doesn't really work at all, right? Let's take your DevOps and you have, I don't know, 5 items into a sprint. I'm just going to keep this rhetoric for now. Why does it matter that you need to move something from today, it's Thursday planning, and tomorrow start a new sprint? Why would you even bother moving stuff, right? Because it's irrelevant for your actual day-by-day activities. And again, this happens in our industry. For better or worse, some people, let's say, smell it, but it's not always like that. And again, you may have a manager who would insist on just to Scrum because I say it, right? That's not the best place to be. So I don't think when that happens, when the manager comes in and just says, "Hey, I'm really gonna need you to work like this," it's you can go back to them if you want to take something from this and just ask him, okay, what about flow? Why am I doing what I'm doing, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about here, right? It's not about the process per se, but actually how you get the results, right? So that's the mindset we're trying to basically learn here. The alternative, which I found better, and I think it's more suited for DevOps. I think it's Kanban. A brief story here. 18 years ago, I was a computer operator at the Dura factory. This is automotive company in Timisoara. Some of you guys, I hope you were born there by then. So I was there. I was this basically kid, and then this really sexy Spanish guy. Back to my Maverick reference, I was his wingman. So he comes there, and then I was 20. I knew English. I was the smartest, unfortunately. I know how to put it from there. And then they said, "Okay, Andrei, you're gonna learn Kanban at Dura." Okay, what's that? I have no idea. But this is very important because again, that at that age and seeing this, how this really actually works, where it came from the Japanese historically, I won't dive into more details here. It's really interesting. So basically, the guy came, and then they had these things which would make semiconductors and different tools. I'm not sure what's the English word now, but in short, the machine, you would have to set it up to do a certain circuit, and then you'd have to stop, prepare it again, and then you'd make a different circuit. And then how did the guy know how to do anything? you would have people, logistics guys in the offices looking at demands, and then you would have Excels, or you would use your phone and you call a chief, a leader from the shop floor, and you tell them, now you stop this and you do that. Oh, but I can't. No, you should, because of the right reasons, right? So this was all very, very chaotic, if you ask me. And then the guy comes in, he just brings his laptop, I'm sitting near him, he does some calculations, okay, what's the capacity for this machine, blah, blah. We look at the demand for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden I have 15 cards. Cool, what do I do with them? And then we go to a guy who, let's just say, I think he was a literal shepherd or something. He had sheep at home because he was from the countryside. So imagine the discussion, explaining Kanban to a literal shepherd. And I was 20 again. So yeah, I got the training. So and then I get the shepherd guy, true story, and then I start explaining, okay, how would you do Kanban? How would you work until now? Well, someone will basically come and tell me what to do. Okay, from now on, you won't do that anymore. What? Cool, I don't have a boss. No, you have this specific rack here. And then what happened, we had this rack where it was very simple, right? He had 15 cards, and the only activity he had to do was what? To pick the first card. Oh, cool. So he would pick the first card, he would look at it. Oh, 200 of these, cool, I can do that. And then what's next? Then you pick the next one. But what if this circuit breaks? Then you will need to kind of change cards. In short, the shepherd understood Kanban, which was amazing. I understood Kanban, and I was also a wingman for the Spanish sexy guy. So yeah, Kanban in a nutshell. You need to. What's the difference? I won't dive into too many details because I'm sure you all know Kanban by now. I'm hoping most of you are actually working in a Kanban system, but it's all about the WIP limits. Right, the WIP limit is very important. It's all about getting stuff done. It's all about the flow. It's all about picking up the first item, right? So if all the sprockets are in place, it's very simple for you as a DevOps to basically have someone from product or management or you name it, right? Placing stuff in order, you just pick up the first one and your sole focus is to get that item and ship it off and get it done, right? It's theoretically that simple, but yet not that simple because it's sometimes what happens if you have a bug, or what happens if you have an urgency. You stop everything and you need to pick something from the backlog, right? It can be chaotic, right? So again, Kanban in this scenario, it's much more adapted to change than Scrum, right? And you'll see later, I'm hinting a bit, it may be much more adapted for AI, but we'll talk about that shortly. You have Scrum, you have Kanban, you have Scrum, you have Scrumban. Maybe you've worked like this before, right? So what happened? This, I'm using it. I'm not sure if I invented it or someone else, but I'm sure I've read it somewhere. But why Scrumban? Because again, there's the corporations, right? You're not all lucky to have Alessandro as your CEO, right? So I'm sure Alessandro would understand you guys, and you can have a discussion with him that this is shit. I don't work right like this. But in big corporations, what usually happens is they just come and say, I don't care, man. I want my sprints because I have this layer of reporting. I need to do with this, I don't know what, CEO, VP level, right? So everything is in 2 weeks mentality, although it doesn't make any sense for the actual team to have those sprints, right? So how do you manage that? Scrumban, where you still use the Kanban board, but effectively at some point you have these, let's call them just-in-time planning sessions, and you can have them strategically at 2 weeks' time. It's a 1 hour session where theoretically all your homework is already done. And by that time, you just do the planning, and then your Scrum Master may go back to all the stakeholders and actually communicate back. But by using this, it actually gives you guys more space to, I don't know, focus on actual work, because this is what it's all about. Okay, and then I want to talk, this is an actual example of my last year it was, I don't know, half a year. It was terrible project. I genuinely hated it.
But the drawing is nice.
I did my best. So how to put this? Not racist. Yeah, I was the only white Caucasian persona in this program where everyone was from India. And again, they were how to put this? Their mentality is very different, right? They need a boss to tell them what they do. It is like that, right? There are so many. There's a reason why so many Indians are CEOs of Google, YouTube, whatever, right? So they're very smart people, but it depends how you land there, right? They would they told me, Andrei, we need help. Cool. And you need to be an agile Scrum Master. We need to get stuff done. Cool. They were migrating databases from anyhow, they were doing a migration. Let's just keep it simple. And then my role was, I thought I was here, but actually I was here, some sort of weird gatekeeper where nothing was done without my acknowledgement, right? So they were doing Scrum, but they expected me to tell people what to do, and expected me to tell other teams what not to do and how we would split the work. And then you would have these guys here, the BSAs. They were in Canada with the client, right? They were there every day, but they had no responsibility for the backlog. And then the whole responsibility was this guy here, me. And
You were there to get arrested.
Yeah. I was strict. What the hell, guys? I didn't sign up for this. And and then you can imagine, it took me at first. You can't just go like a RAM and change everything, right? So you need to go there with your mind open, right? Understand what's there, and then you see what you can change. So yeah, it took some time to basically understand and figure out. Okay, I'm this weird gatekeeper, which again, it may make sense in other projects, but not here, right? Because why the hell would you pay these guys, right? Because they're actually talking with the client, they're understanding the backlog and all of those stuff. So long story short, we've changed this, right? From the 2-week sprints where again we were doing tasks and counting tables, and it had nothing to do with Agile, with Scrum. So it was the most waterfall project in the world, right? And then it was waterfall doing Scrum, but project management with weird. I genuinely didn't understand anything. So how we fixed this again? We said, okay, let's stop this. BSAs, if you're there in Canada, if you're talking to the clients, if you're negotiating who migrates which database, you are now my PO, right? Because they didn't understand what the product owner is. Okay, so right now, moving forward, you guys are responsible for all the backlog and the discussions. Your sole job is to let's imagine this is the team. Your sole job is to come to the team to have these refinement sessions, right? Talk it out, see what's can be done, what blockers, blah, blah, we have. And the most important, other than that, it's this part here. Is it ready? This is the fundamental question in Scrumban or Kanban, right? Is something ready, yes or no, right? Because that's going back to the Kanban rules, definition of done, definition of ready, all of those, they need to be very strictly looked upon, and there need to be a bit religious, because otherwise the whole system will fail. And yeah, basically, after understanding this, after basically making myself not doing anything, because honestly I wanted out, so I was proud to make this team actually function on its own. And yeah, the results were there. Everyone was happy with the migration, but it was a terrible project. Cool. Some metrics. This is boring stuff, so I won't dive into this. I'm just gonna go on the link and say no one ever used these metrics I'm showing here, and I'm not saying you should, but they're quite cool. If you ask me, again, if you go by the Kanban way, right, you have your cycle time. This kind of measures how much it takes from your DevOps, right? Who's DevOps here, right? You take a task. How much time does it take for you to get it from to do to done, right? And then that's an indicator on how on the flow, and you can do lots of cool stuff from there, right? The lead time, this is another interesting one. This is when Alessandro comes with a huge idea, and then you guys need to pick up, split it into tasks, and then you need to shift them or get them done, right? So how much time does it take from Alessandro talking with a huge importance with the client till you actually get stuff to the client? This is also an important indicator. Flow efficiency, web page. I won't dive into too much details here, but these are some items which you guys can use. Yeah, please try to maybe remember them. And now the coolish is more stuff. We are Vadim just raised the bar with AI before me. Historically speaking, and business-wise, I'm going to phrase it like that. To get stuff done, you had to pay people to write code, and then DevOps to make sure everything gets deployed okay, and right, it's the whole system, right? It was very costly to basically write code, right? That was where the funnel, if you ask me, got a bit stuck, because how do you get more stuff done? Bringing more people, bringing more developers, and more stuff will get done, right? Now the lines of code are no longer a bottleneck, right? Now theoretically you could, so I'm gonna go a bit back on my BA days, right? So you would have a feature, and then you have to elicit requirements, and then I mean, this is kind of in a nutshell the process. And from there you would talk with the product and the UX, and then you would do a drawing, and then you would have to talk back with the product, and then till now nothing got done, right? And then you do paper prototyping, and then maybe you want to do A/B testing, and I don't know how many clients actually want or don't want that feature, because by the time you actually get it done, they almost forgot about the feature. So this is kind of what historically happened. Let's see if it will still be the case. And now, theoretically, you have the power to, you have, Alessandro has an idea. You guys will, and then Vadim brings in his factory. He presses a button, and all of a sudden, I get the feature from Alessandro's brain to production in, I don't know, 2 weeks, maybe more, maybe less. And then the client, yes.
What a day?
What a day, yeah.
Productively,
Exactly. What
you're fired.
No pressure. Okay, I'll stop with the examples. What happened? But then the question is the user, are the users really ready for that? We'll see. We'll see. Okay, so as I've alluded before, AI, I think, kind of collapsed the delivery funnel. So again, before the AI, everything kind of bottlenecked here. Now, and I guess it's good for you guys, right? I think, but again, Vadim may say otherwise. I'm not the expert here. I think this is where we'll kind of be in a bottleneck. Time shall tell, because till now I can say that, for example, my teams, that they're all using copilots, and they're actually more productive, right? But no one really created from scratch a platform doing vibe coding, right? So I don't want to polarize the discussion, and we can philosophize it a lot, but yeah, we see. I would argue we simply don't know exactly what will happen. Time shall tell, right? But again, writing code, I said that it's nearly free. It's not that free, obviously, because you still need the people to check, right? You still need to someone to write the prompts. It's a lot of stuff in behind, as you've seen previously in the previous presentation. My question here is, my fundamental question here is, okay, my example, which how much it took to take a story and deliver it into production. Tomorrow I'm doing 100 per week. Are we really that prepared for that much slop? Possibly. I have another example. We have an internal team. We have this really cool autonomous AI agent does everything, and and I talked a bit with the guys there in preparation for this session, and they all said, yeah, it can be chaotic. Why? Because it's so many features thrown and ideas, and everyone is just doing it. And at some point, you can have a bad product, right? And we'll see at the end what this business is actually all about. Then we have our friends from Linear. Anyone uses Linear? I have
My agent.
Your agent. Okay, this is quite fresh. So Linear, they promise, this is, I don't know, Mecca, however you call it for a product owner. I still want to see it with my own eyes. I'm going to be very truthful here. But basically what Linear says is that, let's say I'm a customer on this ERP and I have an idea, and I don't know, or I have an idea and I send a ticket to the team which is building this platform. It's from my idea. The AI will basically will pick it up, will draw everything, will go with the agents, will automate everything, and again, in no more than 2 weeks, I don't know, everything will be shipped out. This is what Linear is suggesting. Why this is interesting? Let's go back, right? In Scrum, you would, I don't know, cut everything here because it's 2 weeks, or here because it's another 2 weeks. It doesn't work, right? So Scrum, it's getting a bit, it will fall behind. That's my personal opinion. And again, my Scrum model, I think it fits better with the AI age, just because you don't have the friction of time. It's a continuous loop of getting shit done, basically. So that's the focus. The just-in-time planning, the pull flows, right? So if you have a good model which scales, that's the beauty of model. You can apply it to Linear apparently, and stuff will get that done. Get stuff. Again, they're advocating to not have even Jira, right? So that's again interesting for you guys. As a DevOps, I'm thinking of you right now. I'm not sure if it's the best use case, but still, it's a place where your sole focus is picking an item, and I'm repeating myself, but I'm intentional with this, and getting stuff done. Some manager will thank me after this session. Then how to keep a stakeholder happy? Two main things, and I actually believe in this. It's predictability and value, and this is universally applicable, if you ask me, right? Because again, whatever you do, whatever part of the sprocket you are in the system, even if you're a product owner, a lead, a manager, a scrum master, a developer, a DevOps, you do something to produce value, basically, right? And from my experience, most probably you have some sort of a client which kind of pays you to do stuff. To have them engaged, to have when it's not easy, right? To have partnership, to have stakeholders always understanding you, being on your side, right? Not having, you'll have arguments, right? But being truthful between the two parties, right? If you give them predictability and value, that's you've reached the sweet spot, if you ask me, right? And then how do you do that? We just described, right? With clear processes, right? We communicate with data. We try to, again, ship smaller slices. This again comes to you guys. I'm focusing on good refinement, focusing on having small items and then just getting them done, because all of those are what? They are data, right? Going back to my example with the databases where we are effectively counting tables, we finish every quote-unquote sprint. It was that simple as saying I finished 50 or 100, right? And then everyone was like, okay, but what does that really mean? Because we had 5,000, right? So it didn't really mean that much, right? So if you talk the game where you focus on actual data, and that's where you actually reach good trust with your stakeholders. Again, focus on outcomes and not outputs, right? So what does that mean, right? Most probably, if you're a developer, you had your managers telling you need to increase your velocity. And then this is another nice one. Velocity, fundamentally, as a team, I can inflate or deflate them however I want, right? Because I can have a scale from 1 to 1,000, right? And everyone delivers, I don't know, 40, 50, 100 points. Actually, I'm Maverick, right? So then I don't like rules. And then once I tested out with the team, we had a scale from 1 to 10,000 because my kid, 6-year-old, said it was fun. And why can't? And then all of a sudden, everyone had, I don't know, 50 story points velocity. And just to prove the point, next sprint we did 987. And everyone was like, hey, what how? Right? I'll tell you how, because for us, 3 story points is actually 100. Are you telling me I can't do that? Well, I can, right? So that's the whole idea of focusing on outcomes, because at the end of the day, it's not how you actually do your work, or how you count your story points. It's focusing on what's meaningful for your stakeholders, right? And again, as a DevOps, you may have your tasks which you need to get done, and that's perfect. Just do that. Let's say you're product manager, owner, you have stories to ship, right? That's your focus. Just focus on those first, and let the team be the ones who are dictating how they want to basically split their tasks and how they want to measure their tasks so that they get stuff done. I had the last one. Yes. So what to take home? So basically, don't abandon Scrum. I'm actually, to be honest, I meant this. If you're a DevOps and someone tells you to do Scrum, I would have this conversation with, and I think I'm doing a good thing right now. I would have a conversation with my manager and telling him, dude, let's find a better way to work, right? Because if you have incremental sprints delivering tasks, that's a big no-no in my book, right? So if you want to take and remember something from this, just focus, think about your activities, and then what's best for me to actually have flow, because that's the whole point. Flow is not necessarily about speed, right? It's what keeps me blocked, right? Because, for example, if I don't need a refinement session, right? If I have too many meetings, I need to sit down into planning sessions, which are useless for me. Maybe don't do that, right? So that's very important. Stakeholders, as I've said, they want predictability, right? So this is easy said than done, right? Because let's say you have this big feature, and Vlad here. I don't want to pick on Alessandro more. So Vlad here once is pushed to finish, I don't know what feature in the next sprint. And then what happens? I can't, right? You need to split the epic into stores, and the stores into tasks, and refine this, that, and right. It's a lot of effort, right? In the age of AI, this may be faster. We'll see, but it's all about data and focusing on getting stuff done. About the AI, again, flaws will be visible in the system, because quite literally, I doubt, or maybe you can, I don't know how smart. They are pretty smart, so I think they can even. Vadim, can you in fact work in sprints if you tell them?
Yeah, I guess, but I don't need. I mean, this just goes to spec and instantly take it. There's no sprint for them. It's like 24/7 shifts.
Thank you. But you see my point, right? So why have Scrum in this age where you can work almost non-stop? Let's hope that's not the case with humans, though. And, and then I'm gonna end with this. Are we really ready for this? I mean this, right? So in a world where everything is hyper agility, everything gets done by factory workers who are working non-stop, or where, I don't know, you just think of an idea and then you have your prototype in production. Are users really ready for this? I'm not sure yet, right? But it's something which you all can ask yourselves. And then whatever you do, always try to think that, again, I can have the most wonderful platform in the world. If it doesn't sell, it's basically useless, right? So you need to always have that layer in mind, and because again, you control what you do there, and you know your users, and that's very important. Yeah, that was me. I was Andrei. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrei. Any questions before we move on?
Really questions more like debate. I don't think Scrum was bad. It's the people that were doing it.
I know.
People are always the problem.
Because
I know. Yeah.
I've rarely seen people do it properly, and the reason it was put in place, the reason it had all these ceremonies and all this mambo jumbo is to protect the developer time because that was expensive. That was the bottleneck. You had like 4 projects per year. You had to choose where you throw your people in. You had to make good choices because your choice made you stuck for 6 months. So then you had all the discussion with stakeholders and blah blah blah. That's not going to be the case. I mean, execution is cheap.
It's cheap. Yeah.
So you can cut some of that, but yeah, it's also. Do you guys know team topologies? The whole idea that we model our teams and our flow politically, not based on value. We play all this politics and all this discussion. This is my piece and this is my piece, and we argue with each other and forget about the action value. That's the problem. It's a human problem. It's not a technology problem. Scrum is okay, but maybe not fit for the modern age. Yeah.
Thank you. You understood.
Good job.
Please, you said something like you have to, let's say, review and retro. Same points were, let's say, raised again and again, but nothing was learned. They were not improving. So is this Scrum? I mean, why did you kept 2 weeks cadence if it was not good? Why not try 3 weeks? Why not try Kanban earlier? I mean, the idea of good applied Scrum, like you said, is to learn something, not hitting your wall, head against the wall every sprint and then set.
Yeah, for the record, so Kanban or endorse Kanban does not really do ceremonies, right? So you can have the retros, and we encourage them. You can basically have more or less almost all the ceremonies. The feud, I think, here is the reporting side and the stop for no reason most of the times at the 2 weeks or 3 weeks time. That boils down to people. In short, that's the short answer, right? Again, I'm the type of person who, if I was the Scrum Master, I would actually try to follow up, right? I would do that. But that, going back to my zombie Scrum example, at some point, I don't know, I've seen it so many times, unfortunately. Is it fatigue? Is it people not caring? Is it bad management? Is it a bad Scrum Master? It boils down to people are not following the good practices, actually, Scrum teaches, right? So I'm not saying let's hate on Scrum, right? It's all about taking what's good and maybe evolving. I'm just going to phrase it like that. I think Scrum will and should evolve.
Okay, maybe we should take.
We will do it
separately.
Yeah.
I know a situation, let's say, where there was quite good, let's say, Scrum implementation, quite good, maybe even safe. But still, the team has so many changes and so many, let's say, sometimes not weekly, daily sometimes, and issues and bugs. So finally, it was decided to go over Kanban because Scrum was not good in that. 3 weeks Scrum in that implementation. DevOps team.
Exactly. If you're a DevOps team, again, I would argue it's a Pareto for me. 80% of the time you're better off doing Kanban. It's that simple. About safe, right? So at some point I was working with these guys from Ireland, and they had They had safe by the book, release train engineers, everything was there. Several teams competing, right? And they were trying to. They would wait for the train to come here, and then they would push, and then they would have big testing sessions, blah blah blah, everything in place. There was a big fundamental problem at the DevOps guys. They had this Atlas thing in the middle, and everyone was shooting at it. Whatever I would deploy today, I would mess up someone. Any other teams? It was Manole, if you know, almost Manole style for that organization.
Build one day, if you go down.
Exactly, you would mess up the other teams, and then you would ask yourself, why the hell you even try it, right? So you need your top priority should be stop everything and do microservices. I don't know, right? I'm not the expert here, but it was really fun. And then everything was perfect. They had everything aligned. Everyone was trying. They had agile coaches. so many things were invested, but they were missing the most important aspect, infrastructure. Yeah.
Anybody else? I probably would have a question, but I spent the whole session thinking about Tom Cruise movies. Ranking them in my mind, and my brain got stuck at Magnolia, which in my mind was a pretty bad movie. But I cannot remember the whole plot to have an argument to say, right.
Someone knows exactly.
Anybody knows about Tom Cruise movie?
Interview with the Vampire.
Come on.
Oh, come on! No, that's a fantastic movie.
But Tom Cruise is not good.
What did I do?
The movie is good, but
Him and Brad Pitt.
He's the last Hollywood superstar. So yeah, we'll see. But the last of them.
Last Top Gun.
Come on.
Okay. Anybody has anything to say about another Tom Cruise movie?
No?
If not, we move forward. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Before we get to first, okay, thank you so much. Before we move to first the raffle and then the pizza, our community colleague Lucy is going to say a couple of things about the next AWS event.
Thank you. Hi guys, I'm Luci. I'm also part of the organizing team for the CNCF Meet-up and also one of the guys that organizes the AWS Community Day, which is happening here in Timisoara on the 23rd of April. And on the 24th, we have some workshops. So I just wanted to tell you that we are doing this. It's an international event with a lot of speakers flying over to Timisoara. And I invite you to come. So basically, it's something in our city. You don't need to pay for travel, accommodation, anywhere. And if you have questions, come to me. If you're in the cloud, you need to come. We're out doing the third event this year already. So it's the third event and it's better and better. So yeah. And I also want to say thank you for being here because I know everyone has plans after work and personal life. And it's really important for us to see that people still appreciate meetups and you take your time and come here. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Okay? Thank you.
Let's start the raffle with the AWS.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Why not?
Why
And
not?
I invite you to pick up
You will
some
be the
names.
blind goddess.
Do we have Alex Farkas?
No, we don't.
No.
That's the whole thing with raffles, if you show up, you have a much higher probability to win.
Fabian Fulga?
Yeah.
Okay, Fabian. We will decide later how we send you the voucher for the tickets.
Yeah.
So this is the winner, Fabian. Let's put him in the different pocket.
Let's put him here. So we use him for the KC for the Cloud Native Day as well.
It's not alive.
No. To put him back? No. We have separate. No. He doesn't have the chance to win also to the Cloud Native. No. Let's give 10 individual separate tickets. Rafael, come on. Rafael.
There you go, yeah.
Cool. Okay. So the first 5 are for AWS Community Day in Timisoara, and then the next 5 for Cloud Native in Bucharest. Then we have Alex Sherban, I guess. Hey, Alex. Nice. Okay. Next one is Romina. Romina has already a ticket, so then we
Would be funny if
try
you would
again.
want. No, put it back. Maybe you win the one in Bucharest.
Then we have Dennis Söke. Oh, nice. You guys are together, right? Okay. By the way, the tickets have a really good price, 24 euros. If you don't win here, you can also come. We made the prices low. This is empty. Okay.
It's a one card.
Tudor Nika. Tudor, congrats. Okay. So these are the AWS Community Day winners, and now Alessandro.
Romina.
Romina.
Romina?
Yeah.
I'm Romina. I'm part of the organizer for Cloud Native Days Romania. We are at the third edition this year. Alessandro is our speaker for the third time, no?
Second,
Yes. Not the
The third.
third time. Really? Okay.
The third
Thank you
time.
for reminding me.
We have today's conference in Bucharest on Monday and Tuesday, and workshops as well. And I can tell you only that the time, the lineup we have today, AI, Kubernetes, all that you want.
The good stuff. Huh?
For the stuff,
Okay. So, Alexandra Calagiu. You only have to pay for your travel. Istvan Csaba Vaca. No? You only have to pay for Mateo Gomez.
Me, but I cannot.
No?
No.
Mark Martin.
Mark?
Mark Martin. Someone who. No? RSVP with Mark Martin. Cristian Alexandru Chiriac. Okay, you go. Denis Coțoi. Cristian Alexandru Chiriac. You go. Valentin Deleanu.
I cannot believe it. Yes.
Yes, okay, so you let it. Andrea. And the last one from Panduru Constantin Marius. So these are the winners.
Thank you everyone for participating. It's really great having you all here.
Andrea will contact them and
Yes, of course. I will. I'll remember the files and I will contact you with the vouchers.
If not, can come with them.
Yeah. For the Cloud Native Days one, we can discuss today, and for the rest of the one, I will talk with Lucia and will let you know how we will deliver the vouchers.
Yeah. For
Cloud
those of
Native
you,
Days, besides the fact I'm speaking there, it's one of my favorite conferences in Europe. So the partying afterwards are legendary. So
I don't
that's
know.
what I remember. I remember the party. So probably the conference is good as well. Okay. Thank you, guys. Andrea, I think we're done, right?
Yes, we're
Good.
done. We're just waiting for the pizza. It's on the way. Just please don't leave because we got
Okay.
something.
We have drinks. We have also some alcoholic beverage for those of you above 21, right? Coffee, Italian coffee.